Good noon.
We're actually both in the same time zone now, folks.
Same time zone. December 20th, season 4, EP 19, underway. Traci, how are you doing, dear?
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in. It's been a couple of weeks. But yeah, but you're also trying to kind of rebalance, I guess, and shift from coming back here to North Carolina from 5 hours later.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Correct. 5 hours later, and it's at 5 p.m. U.S. time. It's 10 o'clock, and I'm ready to go to bed. Right. And then here I am, 5 o'clock p.m. here. I'm bright-eyed. On Sunday, we had a very late dinner, and I think it's 9 o'clock. The kids all happy. I really appreciate this, y'all. But no, that's life, right? Living on multiple continents. You ask for it when the promise starts to manifest. You can't cry for the work that it takes to do it. So you
can. you can cry. That is an option.
I know. I'm like, this. I asked for this, right? I asked for this, and that's why we talk here sometimes on the manifestation of the promise of the vision is larger than the thought of it. So that when you're in the execution, when you're executing it, when you're living it, it's, oh my goodness, this is real life. This is what it is. And there are certain things that come along with it. Like I tell you this, writing your book. There were certain times you were writing, I got to do this. There's some sweat and some blood in there.
Oh yeah, no, it's no joke. I mean, writing a book is no joke, no matter how many pages it is. But you said something that actually, that's kind of what we've been talking about recently here. So as I think people have heard me mention, we've had an exchange student living with us this year. Mm-hmm. And the reality of the holiday season, right? So now she's been with us since September. and we are in the holidays, and I mean, this is her first time away from her family during the
Mm.
holidays, and in a
Wow.
totally different place, and she hasn't been feeling well. We had to run all over the place because everything's changing with healthcare and that kind of thing. And so I was running all over the place yesterday or day before yesterday, trying
Mm.
to find an urgent care that would take her insurance. And it's just, and it's the holidays anyway. And so, seeing the reality of this, right? It's all great. Everybody's excited, and oh, she's excited, and we're excited. And then, you get into the day to day and the reality of it, right? Because I
Mhm.
mean, we can't forget. It's like I'm fine, I'm fine. But are you really fine? It's okay. We don't have to just sit there and say we're fine when there are things under the undercurrents
Correct.
that we're processing and that we're dealing with. And I've had that conversation with my mom too, because the reason it took her so long to even go to the hospital is because she kept telling me, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And she was
Mm.
not fine.
Mm.
She was clearly not fine. And the more she did it, address what wasn't fine, the more not fine it got.
Correct. Correct.
and and she is still in the hospital, and they're still trying to figure things out. But I think it's, for me, it's witnessing this and looking in my own, because again, that's what we're really meant to do, is look at our own life and say, okay, where am I sometimes not balancing the reality of, like you said, I asked for it and all of that, the reality that I asked for it with how we're actually legitimately managing it in the moment, right? Because
Mm.
we don't have to do it perfectly. Just because we ask for it, it doesn't make us unappreciative if we struggle sometimes, right?
Mm.
And and
Okay.
more importantly, if we're honest about that struggle, like we're not
Mm.
less grateful because we may be struggling.
Yeah.
And it's so important, I think, for us to be able to say, like my mom and I have been talking a lot about, grace is actually accepting support.
Mm.
Being giving grace is not just about, oh, I'm going to give grace to you, like, you're apologizing or whatever, I'm giving grace, or you're acting a certain way, and I know your true self, and so I'm going to give you grace. Grace is also of self,
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
I'm going to give myself grace and say, we're human, I'm human, and I'm struggling, and I need
Mm.
help. I maybe need more assistance than I thought I would.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
maybe I'm, accepting full self is also accepting our weaknesses. It's not, we haven't committed a mortal sin when we're weak. We haven't. I mean, I think it's been so conditioned that as soon as we, show any kind of weakness, it's a mortal sin, in some
Mm.
households more than others, but it's not. And I,
Mm.
and I, and I believe that, as I said to my mom, true strength is admitting when you're weak.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the big thing I see, because even with our exchange student, it's like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm okay. And meanwhile, I see she's not okay.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, sweetheart, it's okay to admit when you're not okay. It's okay to admit when you've done something that you
Mm.
feel maybe everybody else wouldn't agree with or wouldn't like, or what, the true strength is when we can speak our truth,
Mm.
regardless of what that is. And so those are kind of the things that I've been witnessing a lot
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks.
When you said, weaknesses a couple of weeks ago. Oh my goodness. Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh I was studying on no, I was reading and then studying, and weakness and vulnerabilities came up. And what this pastor said was, in your weaknesses and vulnerabilities, these these things exist. They are our qualities. We came with them. So an example is somebody can bring a bottle of liquor, someone, and I'm not saying liquor is bad to drink or anything, but someone who cannot control liquor, they would just go and be a glutton. And same thing with food, same thing with lies, same thing with, just gossiping or just whatever it is. We have our weaknesses. And it was
We have our
understand
pathologies, as they say.
understand your weaknesses, understand your vulnerabilities, because they're there. They can break you down, but understand them and put a hedge, put a system in place. So I'm not going to drive in front of the McDonald's every time because I've heard this a whole lot. I'm on diet, but I love Mickey D's. I love the Big Mac. And I'm not going to drive in front of McDonald's, or let's just bring it to Starbucks coffee. I'm going to save my money. And the $3 I'm spending on coffee or $5 I'm spending every morning, I'm going to put it towards X. But every time you take the same route in front of there and go, "Arr," you go in there. So putting a system around your vulnerabilities, around your weaknesses is, okay, I'm gonna find a different route. If it's the opposite sex, I'm not going to be in a room by myself with them in my office, right? I'm not going to engage in these kind of, so you put your hedge miles away from the act. So if it's talking about somebody and my buddy calls me, and as soon as I know this particular buddy is the one who we bring in the juice, right? About what's happening on the street. And he says, "Man, did you hear what happened to John?" I'm like, "Man, let's talk about what happened to you. Let's talk what's happened to me. Let me tell you what happened to me. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about building." So our weaknesses and vulnerabilities are not there for us to overlook. It's not there to say, "Okay, I'm going to put you under the mat." And nah, that when you put it under the mat, I think that's when it's going to get really, really strong and come back to you because you aren't recognizing that it is a weakness or a vulnerability. So when you said being gracious, and I think this is something we've been saying for almost 5 years now. Wow, season 5 is coming in a couple of weeks. We've been saying this. When we say grace, it's not just being graceful to others, it's being gracious to yourself, to allow yourselves mistakes, allow yourselves to know that you're a human. And I think you said it best a couple EPs ago. Human being, right? It's a current state of being human. It's a current state of being. And who knows, in things that when we're extemporaneous, or when we are called to do it, we make mistakes in it. So be gracious to yourself as you're engaging. Back to you, Tracy.
Well, I think you made a really good distinction between real like weakness and behaviors, right? Like,
Mm,
because weakness, we could have a weakened immune system. That's not a
mm,
behavior, right?
mm,
But what I love is that what you said about systems. I was just talking probably a month ago with a client who had that aha, and she said, we were talking about systems, systemic, because I do systemic orientation when I work with organizations. Like, what I'm like looking at what the system is showing me, not just an
mhm.
individual or a group of individuals, but what is the system? What are the patterns in the system? And she
Correct.
says, you're talking about systems, and it got me thinking, like, I need systems to help me create those paths that I have chosen are in alignment with the direction I want to go, right? So
Ooh.
you kind of reiterated that very thing, and I thought that was really great, because it's true. Is the things some things we don't. I mean, we have control over a lot more than we think, and we don't have control over a lot of the things we thought we did. But even when it comes to our immune system, people say, "Oh, COVID or whatever." I mean, the greatest thing we can do is actually build our immune system
Mm,
during any time, whether COVID is there or whatever, is that because what is dealing with viruses and bacteria and all this stuff that's coming in is our immune system. So the
correct.
stronger it is, an immune system isn't just about health, when it comes to the food we're eating and how much water we're drinking and how much sleep we're getting. It's
Mm.
what goes in here too, how we feed
Ooh.
our mind and what we hold in our hearts. So it's not just what we put in our bodies, it's what we hold in our minds and what we hold in our hearts that absolutely 100% affects our immune system, right? So if we're thinking negative, self-deprecating thoughts, that weakens our immune system like nothing else, and we're going to be much more susceptible to whatever's out there,
Mm,
right?
mm.
That can get into our bodies and attack it. And so,
Yes.
that's how we build ourselves up, is recognizing and building systems, to your point, around what we allow to hold in our body systems, right? Mind, body, heart, soul, all of that. Because the other thing is the soul piece.
Oof.
we're holding certain things in our soul
Forget it.
that will crush our immune system and
Fast track.
everything else. It will our immune
Yeah.
system, our relationships,
Yeah.
our opportunities, you name it.
Mm,
And that can be heavy. And that's the stuff we oftentimes don't recognize.
wow.
We don't have enough conscious awareness that like this heaviness that I'm holding, because a lot of the times it's not ours. It's things we've received from our families, that have been passed down for generations. I mean, there's
Mm,
a lot of things we're holding that we don't even know we're holding that aren't ours. And that's why a lot of the work that a lot of the different practices that I've collected
hmm.
as tools as a
Yeah.
coach
Yeah.
help us to not only recognize the things we typically would be unconscious of, but also have a way to put that all back into order.
Huh.
It doesn't mean we don't do the work though. It isn't. It takes that to your point. We could create a system, but if we don't follow the system,
You got to.
it's not
Yes.
going to work, right?
Yeah.
So we could create all these things all day long, but if we're not walking the talk, if we're
Hmm.
not actually putting to play, I mean, if I always use the football analogies, but like you've got all the plays and you've got a plan, but if you don't run the plays, they do you no good,
Mm,
right? They're not
mm,
going to get your team
mm.
anywhere. And so,
Yeah.
and if you don't run the plays as they're called, because that takes trust. And so we have to trust that once because I see this a lot too, is that we create a system, we're following it, and then we question it. Is this really going to work?
Whew.
I was like crazy. Like, I mean, how do I know this is really going to work? And we spend so much effort and energy working against ourselves. I mean, we're taking all this time to outline a system, what we're going to do. We're going to get up in the morning, we're going to go to the gym, and then it's like, it's cold. And,
Yeah.
today's not really going to do for me anyway. I don't really
Yeah.
like that one class that I'm taking. The
Yeah.
instructor today is not as good. Like
Mm,
we're doing all these things to keep us off our path.
mm, mm.
And we do,
Wow.
those are obvious ones, but we do it in really subtle ways as well.
All right. Wow.
So I think these are all kind of like, again, I've been very, very introspective.
Mm-hmm.
I said this to a client yesterday because he shared the same thing. I was like, oh, you're in life pattern review too. It's like all my life patterns are in review right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
So
they're
true.
parading in front of me and I'm just watching them. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, yep, I know that.
Mm.
Oh boy, yep. Okay, I see that one too.
Wow. Yeah. That's, you were as you were speaking, I was writing here. So when you see my eyes go this way, I'm typing crazy. Uh, systems are paths we go through, build yourself up. What we feed our minds, hearts, immune system. And then something that clicked was, protecting your soul. That's such a direct path to every single thing, because I believe that's your foundation, right? That when something attacks it, and something that I've been a concept, a system, that I've been building over the past few, I would say, months, is not to easily take offense. And what do I mean by easily taking offense? If someone comes and says something to me, I'm not going to say, oh, because I'm tall, because I'm short, because I'm black, because I'm white, because I have this education background, because no. Let me understand why you're saying it. Give me a backstory about this. Uh, I think Verlin's talking to Jazz a couple of weeks ago, in fact, months ago, and Verlin said something to the point, if your husband sees you now, he's going to run. And it was because she had gotten out of bed, her hair, was wild, and she, jokingly said it. And a couple of weeks, I think it was yesterday or 2, 3 days ago, she was like, Mom, you told me that if someone sees me, they will run. But Verlin didn't say husband. She said, if someone sees you. And Verlin said, no, what I was saying was, if a husband, she says, well, I'm not going to be talking to you about a husband at 19, even though people do get married at 19. But I'm not saying your husband. I'm just saying in essence that you look shot. And don't think on going to the supermarket looking shot like that. So, but Jazz takes it a different way. I don't know if she took offense to it, but the fact that she came to ask her mom, which I pride her, pat her on the back, because if I don't understand, let me ask so I don't take offense. And she's like, okay, I see what you meant. But the point here is, in protecting our souls, that offense is such a direct way that we become mean, we become angry, we become depressed, we become so many things that they're not supposed to be, because the person says it in passing and we grab onto it. So a system of not grabbing onto words,
Mhm.
not grabbing onto to actions of others, even though it's hard, but you got to put the system in place. And just as you said, Tracy, you've put the system in place. Someone says it to you and you go, I want to grab it. I want to grab it because this one is it's I need to address it. No, you don't need to stay with the system. When you are building a system, you said, I'm not going to grab onto things. I will inquire. I will ask. And if it's flippantly given, and if there's nothing behind it, even if there's something behind it, I'm not going to take offense because I'm guarding my soul. And I find it, it's been working over the past few. I It's a work in progress, but I think when you said, your statement about feeding your system is not just about the immune system, it's
Mhm.
about protecting your soul. Whew.
I love that. Well, and I
Amazing.
think also too, because we've been talking about this the last couple of times, and I want to reiterate it. Is like that example with Jazz and Verlin.
Mhm.
My first thought would be, Mom, are you saying to me that it's all about my looks?
Mm.
So it's okay to have offense,
Conversation. Yep. Oh,
but the response is what I'm hearing you say. Because
mm.
again, anger or frustration or that feeling of, ugh, that felt icky to me, that's important. We need to honor those things in ourselves, because it could be a boundary that got crossed, right? It could be, I think I'm beautiful regardless, and now my own mother is basically saying, don't go looking like that because you look kind of, and it's like, why is that? I mean, like, I want to know I'm beautiful regardless. And so I might personally not like that.
Mhm.
And it's important for me to honor that, not just disregard it because it's my mom or she was just joking or whatever. Like, if it really
Correct.
bothers me. But to your point, it's how we respond.
Mhm.
We can
Yep.
respond inquisitively. We can respond, and it takes a training to
Yeah.
not go directly to that emotional response, but go to one that says, okay, the emotion is more around boundaries. Something was just crossed that doesn't feel okay for me.
Mm.
But let me approach that more rationally. So I'm curious as to, I mean, I'm guessing you're joking, but actually, I feel very strongly about that, because some things people
Mhm.
say, and we can take the joke and it doesn't, but if it isn't, then there's something going on in us we need to honor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it isn't even really about that other person, but we need to look at all the elements. I think we need to look at our emotions. We need to look at, and then we get to actually manage all of that in the most effective way.
Mm. Mm.
That's the system I teach my clients, is everything's relevant. We just have to figure out how, and then we need to process it in alignment with how we have chosen to show up. That's the
Mm.
what, how, where process. We've already predetermined how we want to show up in all instances. We have our 5 core words. Those are our go-to system. These are the ways we want to show up. So how do we take this particular situation and feed it through these 5 ways that we have given ourselves allowance to show up? That
Mm.
then becomes the system.
Yeah.
But we don't disregard our emotions. We don't disregard, any aspects of our response to something. We just factor it into what's in alignment. What we've already determined is in alignment with how we want others to experience us and how
Mm.
we want to come across to the world.
Mm.
So it
Mm.
really is important that, because a lot of times I see people like just shove it down. I know they were joking and they're not here because their heart is actually bothering them.
Correct.
There's
Correct.
something that, but they're like telling them, no, just deal with it. Just deal, they were joking, or don't make a fuss, or, and that
Mm.
becomes avoidant. People become then avoidant in relationships. When they get upset, instead of being able to speak freely, they
Express it.
avoid,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
detach, they do passive aggressive things. That's
Mm,
not healthy,
mm.
right? So it's important that we don't legitimately, if we feel upset, that we honor that, but then we choose to manage it again systematically in a way. And again, that's the work. That's probably the greatest work I could see having to do,
Correct.
is keeping ourselves, all of the elements in play while at the same time funneling them through a chosen aligned system.
So Tracy, you as you were speaking, I'm thinking about a case study here. My mind just runs to it. So the person gets an offense or feel feel they've been slighted in a way. They It's always from person X. So person Y is the person who's feeling the offense. Person X is always the one giving those snide remarks, statements, etc. Person X has tried in the past to address person. To all of you joining, hey, welcome to Eavesdropping a Moment. Truly appreciate your time here. Let us know where you are listening and watching from, and joining the conversation. We're kind of talking about protecting your soul in these times and feeding your mind. It's not just a healthy system, the immune system, but protecting your mind, balancing your realities, understanding your weaknesses and vulnerabilities, and putting systems in place. Wow. See, it's so good to take notes, Tracy. I'm reading it here. But let us know where you are, and jump in the conversation. But now, where was I as I was saying this, Tracy? Where was I? That the person just took me off.
Well, you talk about person X and person Y, and one of the things
Okay,
we've
good.
told person Y a number of times, that the way they're acting is offensive. And
Thank you, Tracy. So you were listening. Yay. So
yes, I
person
don't. I
Y
take mental notes.
So person X is says person Y never allows me or doesn't give me the grace to speak on this. And there's no way, in fact, I'm not even going to go, I'm going to leave it open. How can person X within their system take care of this kind of situation, where person Y doesn't give you the time, the moment, or as soon as you come in lovingly, you come in inquisitively without putting any negativity on it, person Y blows up. You always tell me, you always say.
Well, so it sounds like a very disempowered dynamic. And what I oftentimes tell people in reminding them of what creates empowerment and what creates disempowerment
Mm,
is that if you're coming from an empowered place, you're in the empowerment dynamic, and you're dealing with somebody who stays in disempowerment, that's a misfit. So you can only
mm,
speak from your place of empowerment. I've noticed that when I bring these things up, your response is X.
mm,
And you have made it very clear that that is uncomfortable and not, something you want. I am curious if you could unpack that a little bit more for me. I have shared my feelings about this, and then you've made it about you feeling attacked. So could you
mm,
unpack that? Like, walk me through that a little bit. Help me understand how what I said about me, it becomes about
mm,
you. Tell me where that translation point is for you. Help me to understand.
mm.
And what you're basically doing is you're inviting the person. Most of the time, they won't be able to do that. And a
Correct.
lot of the blow up is deflection, because they can't explain why they're feeling, they're just reacting. At that point, staying in empowerment is to say, I see that it may be difficult for you to explain this. Maybe we just need to leave this where it is. And then you can let me know, if something comes up, or if you get clarification and you want to, further explain. But I really find that when there's a misfit, we're in different places. And the more we
Mm,
try to engage with somebody who's not where we are, the more frustrating it is for both sides. And so it's really about making sure that we're allowing that open door to say, I want to engage with you, but I'm going to put the onus on this. If you're pointing fingers, I'm going to put the onus on you to help me understand why you're pointing fingers. And if they can't do that, then you detach, but you do it in a way with an open door policy. Like, I understand that this is probably difficult. It feels like it's really frustrating for you. it's not feeling so great for me either. So let's just kind of go our separate ways now. And please let me know if, something comes up and you want to discuss this further later. But I just feel
Yeah.
like, right now it's not productive. And, I'm not feeling like I'm getting what I need. I'm seeing that in what you're saying. You can tell me better if you're not getting what you need. But I think maybe we just need to kind of put it down for now. We're being gracious. We're not cutting people off. We're not burning bridges. We're not like saying, get out of my life. We're not, but we are also holding those boundaries to say, I will engage from this place of empowerment. If you can't do that, that's fine. I'm not going to try to pull you over.
Yeah.
But I can only meet from this place because this feels healthy to me. And so I'll invite you, and I'll keep inviting you, and the door will be open. The invitation is always open, but it'll have to be in this place of empowerment where we're both listening to one another and respectfully, not projecting and all of that, respectfully having a conversation. That's, and I find oftentimes if people are not willing to meet you there, they vote themselves off your island.
Aha.
When there's a misfit over a period of time, people will vote themselves off the island because it's too uncomfortable.
That's exactly that. And thank you so much for even coming to that end place where the person doesn't even see the relevance of it. So vote yourself off the island. And I like that but I'm not mature. I'm not mature enough to leave that open door when you've been hurting me and hurting me and hurting me. And you know what? I'm shutting this door. You're not coming through this door anymore. You've hurt me over and over, and this is where it's at. I'm done with you, right? So I think it's
That's
maturity.
unconditional love, though. Unconditional love literally is unconditional. There's no conditions on it, even like from the point of view of hurt me, hurt me, hurt me, because people they're not hurting you. They're hurting themselves by how they treat you. And that is, you're experiencing what they're doing and blowing up. So it's like collateral damage, right? They're blowing up their life and you're collateral damage in it, right? And you're actually feeling what they're doing to themselves. And by definition, their relationship with you, right? And so because and the reason I say that is nobody can hurt you. You can choose to be hurt, right? They can trigger you to feel hurt, but they can't hurt you. Nobody can actually hurt you. There's a difference between I am hurt and you hurt me. People can't hurt you, but you can feel hurt, right? You can be collateral damage of somebody blowing their lives up, right? So I think I get it, is protecting ourselves. And at the same time, what you said before is leaving a wide berth. If I saw that somebody was blowing up a lot, I would leave a wide berth.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I can't love them. You know how many people I love from afar? I never reach out to them. They have not, they've done some things that didn't feel good. And I'm just like, yeah, this doesn't really fit with the kind of people I want to be hanging with and all that stuff. But I love them from afar. I mean, I try to keep that. I do all the work, right? I use Ho'oponopono a lot, to release any residual anger, frustration, stories, whatever, because otherwise that's a burden to me. Right? It has nothing to do with that person. It doesn't matter, right?
That's true.
I'm holding it. Again, what we hold in our hearts, what we hold in our souls, what we hold in our heads, like that's my choice. So I do what I need to do to release those things so that I can love them unconditionally, but with a wide berth. Now, the door's always open for me that if those people, I've seen people radically, I am in the business of transformation. If I didn't believe people could make massive change in their lives, I wouldn't be doing what I do. So who would I be to say, oh, you hurt me a number of times in the past and you will never amount to anything more than what you've been in the past? I would not, I would be going against the true beliefs I have in the work that I do. And so, I always leave the door open because I do believe in potentiality. And I believe we all have high levels of positive, wonderful, intentional potential. And so I leave the door open, but people have to do the work to be able to come and make that new. So it's a new. We may have known each other for 30 years. but the person I knew in the past was not someone I want to have actively in my life. If you are different, we get to start anew. Like,
Yeah.
hi, I'm Tracy. Oh, hi, you're Ben. Nice to meet you. Right?
Got
Like,
you.
we're starting anew, and just as it would be with a new person, right? We're going to build up. So you don't get to just come in and, oh yeah, we've known each other for 30 years. So let's
Yeah.
start where we left
Yeah.
off. Well, no, where we left off was not a good place. So let's not start where we left off. Let's not do that. And that's the way I subscribe to be. Now, am
Mhm.
I perfect? No. Do I make mistakes in that? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But this is kind of, again, the system. If I were to call myself to a destination point, that's what I'm looking to create, right?
Correct.
That's the system I'm looking to align with.
Correct. Wow. Hey Dre, how are you? I see you just hit us. Nice seeing you on here. Comment, let us know what you think about what we're talking about. And you said something, Tracy. It's true, but then it's you have to train yourself to do it. Is this unconditional love? Um, and it has to be, and I think you clarified what unconditional love is, because some people perceive it to be, I will keep loving you and hugging you while you keep stabbing me, right? While you keep choking me. I love you. And I always tell people, in the Bible it says, be as wise as a serpent and as clever as soft as a dove, right? Where understand the situation you find yourself in. So, unconditional love, and I want you to define that the way you see it. But unconditional love for me is just how you explained the wide berth, understanding that, look, I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to protect my heart. I will protect what I consider my peace, but I'm going to clear my system of the issues that you caused me, because I'm the one carrying that. Uh, I think that's a key part that we have to truly put in our system in order for our souls to fly. I would say so. Unconditional love is loving you from afar, not letting you come into my space to come and choke me. uh, so I'm gonna let so let's go to Dre goes, first time here, very good gems, perfect timing, removing and releasing the spirit of offense. Yes, Dre.
I like
Uh,
that.
this is one of the most challenging topics in life. Correct. Yeah. So Tracy, you just brought that in. You just brought unconditional love in there. Um, where did that come from within this setting? I mean, because when I'm when I'm engaging someone who's killing me, I'm not thinking about unconditional love. The very first thing is flight, and then go far away, get my snipes on, and and take you out.
Well, there's a step process to things. I mean, it's kind of like if you were told that a building was about to blow,
Hmm.
you wouldn't necessarily be sitting there saying, well, let me sit here and investigate why this building is about to blow. You'd get the
Correct.
heck out of there first. Now,
Yes.
if you were in the position to investigate afterwards, once you have protected yourself, then yes. So it's kind of like what comes first. Like there is
Yeah.
a rational
Mm.
kind of step by step basis. So yeah, I mean, can we be, and I think this is the question of human capacity that we have upon us. Can we hold more than one thing at a time? In other words, can we hold unconditional love while we also separate ourselves from things that we need to create boundaries and have protection from?
Wow.
Can we hold that at the same time? Because I realized that was really the question that was niggling at me from the moment I
Mm.
started to have my mother read me the book about the giving tree, right? This
Mm.
tree and this boy who had this really great relationship, but then the boy just takes over the years from the tree, and the tree gives until the tree has nothing more to give.
Mm.
And it used to bother me. I was like, dang, this tree needs to create some serious boundaries. What the heck? Like the boy can't just be waltzing back into the tree's life and just taking all the stuff and then leaving
Mm,
again. Like, what the heck is that? You know,
mm.
but I think as I've sat with that, and strangely enough, my daughter has the exact same relationship with this book,
Wow.
that I didn't really share with her what I had. And she's just come to me. It was like a book she sought out, and she would cry and be like, I don't understand why the tree gives and the boy takes everything and doesn't give the tree anything, and all
Wow.
this stuff. And um but that's really what unconditional love is. Not, to your point, it's not loving without boundaries.
Mm,
It's not loving, unprotectedly. It's literally saying, how can we serve ourselves in this relationship, in all aspects of what that means to serve ourselves, keep ourselves
mm,
protected, keep ourselves aligned, keep ourselves surrounded by the right kinds of people, keep ourselves, in growth mode, all that stuff, while at the same time being open to being loving towards someone,
yeah.
and we get to choose how we love. I think our world will tell us, if you love someone, you give them the shirt off your back, or you get, like, there's all these conditions that have been built
Correct.
up in in how we've been taught to love. But really, in reality, I think that's what's made it difficult for people to have unconditional love, is because they're like, how in the world am I going to get the shirt off my back when this person's stabbing me in the side?
Yeah.
And so there's this polarization of that concept that makes it impossible for us to rectify it or reconcile it. And so I think that for me, it's about deconditioning from what we've been subscribed to and realizing, what does it really mean for me? And so
Mm,
I'm in this season now where it's that, how do I hold both at the same time? How do I serve my needs in who I surround myself with, and hold an open heart, towards people who may have, crossed boundaries in ways that were very hurtful. I
mm,
also tend to look at it as lessons. So if somebody comes in and perpetrates me, so to speak, there's a
mm.
lesson in it. They were just playing a role. I mean, there's always got to be a villain in every story for any. I
Yep.
mean, think about it. All the best stories that we've ever loved, because they're such good stories, has a villain.
Yep.
Like, and so whoever
Mm.
plays the villain in your play at any one time is actually bringing in a storyline that helps facilitate a lesson, a massive.
Ooh, love that. Love
Right?
that.
That's
I
the
love that.
challenge, right? There's always that tension. What are the elements? Disney went over the elements long ago. It's like you have certain elements that make for a really great, rich story.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and you've got this, you've got the happy little, start off, and then there's a problem, and then that escalates, and then you think all is lost, and then somehow in the end it all works out, right? These are the elements of story that we've come to really subscribe to.
Mm,
And so I think that it's about also looking in terms of that human connection to story, and to say, okay, if I am built to learn this way, then these rises and falls in my life, when a villain comes in and does stuff, it's not, is it really gonna, am I really gonna make it about the symptom, which is maybe this villain? Or am I gonna make it about the role that they're playing that's facilitating the lesson? And that it's more about my growth. When I'm growth driven, I'm less focused on the individual blips, and I'm more focused on the outcome.
whew. Ooh, Tracy. So a couple things I'm unpacking here. When you talked about holding unconditional love and things we separate, your boundaries, etc. I'm just seeing an equation, right? I'm seeing X plus Y equals Z equals X, and I'm seeing unconditional love is one variable. Um, the boundaries and someone, the perpetrator, is another variable, and on my equal side is my soul prospering, and how I how I make these how I make these things work is balancing those variables in order for me to to step out and show face. That's one. The next one was, when you talked about the villain coming in, etc. This morning I was reading, and I came across, preparation. When you're preparing and you're going through multiple hardships, preparing, and in fact we even talked about it earlier, where when we're in the process of or in the manifestation of our dreams, there, blood sweat and tears are there, and you say to yourself, just what I wanted is what I didn't want, or you process it the way you do. But your preparation, uh the questions in there was, would you want a doctor who only practiced on a doll? Would you want a pilot who only practiced on a video game? Do you want a captain who only stayed in the safe harbor in the clear waters? Because the person who is going to feed all of your preparation wouldn't trust you enough to know that you haven't been through in order to serve them. So as we are getting into 2024, where I call it the year of expansion, uh, my expansion process has to be based on my preparation. How prepared have I been? The different things I've been through, because my preparation gives me the passport, gives me the license when I sit and talk to my clients, when I sit and talk to my passengers in my boat, in my ship, or my patients are, would they trust me to know that the person who's leading them uh, has been through, have they've seen permutations of all these different, not even all the permutations, but most, that they can then glean from a couple and say, based on X, Y, and Z. So to eavesdroppers, and to us, our preparation, where we have all of these valleys and mountains, and these peaks and valleys, is to know that you're getting, I'm getting a license. I'm being equipped to serve. I'm being equipped to give, and when I give, you say, okay, I'm gonna go there. So there's Tracy. uh Always, people always saying, know your place, know your place, know your place, Tracy. And you're like, nah, this isn't it. This isn't
I did know my place, and it wasn't the place they wanted to put me.
correct. And this isn't my place. This isn't my place. But
Hmm.
without those downs, without those learned, without those offenses, if I may say, right? In line with what we've been talking, we wouldn't be getting from Tracy Waldman Phillips what we're getting from her today. Because
Amen.
Tracy, when you speak, the passion in your speech, um, when I talk, when I engage, the passion in my engagement with people is all based on the preparation we've had.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna turn it over to you, because I don't want to hold on.
Well, when you were speaking, I mean that there was something that was really dropping in pretty majorly for me,
Uh-huh.
and that is I've been feeling that more and more, that I've entered this season, space, time in my life, whatever you want to call it,
Uh-huh.
where that expertise of experience I feel very founded in that. I
Mm,
feel very grounded in it. I feel like I own it. And I know that because I'm moving less, and I don't mean that physically. I mean that mentally more than anything. I'm moving less in am I supposed to be here? Am I supposed to be here? Do I do this? Do I do that? I'm actually really quiet and in a space of observing and witnessing. And I found that by being grounded in the truths of what I know, and trusting what I know, and trusting how I've learned how to activate what I know, and how to utilize it, and how to bring it to the table as valuable,
mm,
that I don't have to convince people. I don't have to, I can show up in situations. I can speak to what I offer. I can speak to my perspective on things and own it as a perspective.
mhm,
And I think I shared, maybe I didn't share it in last eavesdrop, that I'm doing this thing now in networking events. It's kind of like exercise or experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going in, and instead of walking up and looking for people I know or looking to enter a group to start conversation, whatever, I go to a quiet spot in the room, not off to the side where I look like I'm not wanting to talk to other people. And I sit there and I wait to see who comes to me. And I engage with what I attract. And I
Ooh.
determine in that moment if that's going to be something interesting for me or not. And I don't mean interesting like it's all about me. I mean interesting in the sense, can I bring value to it?
Correct.
Can it bring value to me? More importantly, can we bring value to each other? That's what I'm really interested in, is reciprocity. If somebody comes to me and they're trying to sell themselves, I'm less interested. Unless it happens to be something where it's like, oh, wow, that's exactly what I've been looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm assessing, but I'm not seeking out. I'm not trying to put myself out there to see where other people might find I'm valuable. I'm waiting to see what comes to me. And then I'm assessing what that means to me. And I tell you what, ever since I started this, the networking events I've been going to, I have been having the best conversations, getting some of the best connections, having some of the best follow-ups that are actually amounting to some pretty good stuff. And so it's that idea of, I'm in this season where I have earned the right, as I see it, to not chase, to not feel like it's my job to tell the world that I'm valuable or where I'm valuable or how I'm valuable. I can tell the individual opportunities and share it with individual opportunities. I don't need to go on LinkedIn and shout it out and, all these stuff. In fact, I've had zero interest in going on social media because it feels very noisy and loud. And although there's some really great things, I'll be there to just follow certain people who I really like and support them. And I see more and more people putting out some really authentic, good stuff, which is nice to see. But as far as like screaming my value from the rooftops or, trying to say, oh, I'm interested in doing this work, so I'm going to go after these things.
Yeah.
I have zero interest. And at the same time, that open invitation of, if that opportunity seeks me, then it also means there's going to be reciprocity, because I've spent most of my life trying to get along in environments that didn't seemingly want me. Now, whether they actually wanted me or whether me being there was a disruption that they thought they didn't want, but they really needed, that's a whole different story. But I had to learn to, you talk about the troubled waters, wanting to go with a captain that knows how to navigate troubled waters, wanting to go with, somebody with experience in that particular thing that you're having to entrust your life to them.
Correct.
With. I am a person who has navigated. I know what I've navigated. I don't feel the need to have to share that through stories. Look what I've done. Look what I've done. Look what I've accomplished. Like, I don't. I know what it is. And I feel very confident in being able to help myself be able to navigate very difficult things, but also helping other people navigate difficult things. So I know the value I bring to the table. And I'm only interested in engaging in environments and with people who acknowledge that too. And I'm in a place where I feel pretty comfortable about that. So that's what I was hearing from you, just personally, right? Is this, I'm actually in that season of my life where I've owned a good majority of my value. Again, there's always awareness and engagement to be had. There's always development to be had. I'm never there. I will always be growing and developing.
Yes.
However, I am doing it now from a place of that's very different than the earlier seasons of my life. I'm choosing to, like, again, I can love from afar when I can make a choice as to how much of a moat I need to have between myself and others. And I do, I try to say things like, people want to engage. Oh, we need to catch up. Now it's just not really a good time. I would love it if you could check back in end of Q1 or whatever. And then I'll assess at the end of Q1. If they reach back out and they're still interested, then I'll assess it again.
Traci.
And it's not putting people off as much as it's creating that, like, this is not resonating as something I want to put my energy into. So it's a no for now. but I don't want to burn the bridge. Like, no, I'm not interested ever. I'm just not interested now.
Ooh,
It's really
Tracy,
empowering.
that, that. So a couple things. I'll start with the last. I've stopped engaging on LinkedIn because it was always, are you looking for blah blah blah? Are you? And it's the number.
Transactional, very
It's it's
transactional.
it's the numbers that they're looking for. I can build your consulting practice. I'm like, "Oh." I said, I want to build relationships. I don't want you to do something for me. I want to build a relationship first. Get to know me. So when you said, "Hey, come back," I've written that. I can go to LinkedIn now and show you where I said, you know what, right now I'm really not interested. Let's see Q1, Q2 of next year, and let's revisit that. But another piece that you said, I engage with what I attract. And I think Dre is still on here. And Dre did say, we live in a world where we've been trained to always take. It's difficult to learn to come with a given and serving mindset, only learned through experience and lessons from most. So true, Dre. And I think Dre is a business. He was a client of mine a couple years ago, and he runs uh, uh, digital marketing business. And Trey, I think this is something what Tracy said. This removes the anxiety. Not that I'm saying you have it, but for folks who have the anxiety when they go into network, I gotta go and meet somebody, and I gotta get all these cards, and it's the card, shuffling of the cards, rather than engaging with what you attract, because I think that's the most important thing. I don't want to go. I still remember I would go into places and I would not sit in the middle though. I would sit on the edge, and I would look and I would observe people. And then when I see the person who I discern has really a good outlook on why they're there, that's the person I go to engage with, right? But I flipping it now to going in the middle of the room and being inviting. And when the person comes, and you know them in a minute or in a second, rather, that they want to sell themselves rather than want to build a relationship.
Oh, in a minute. In a
In a
minute.
minute.
I saw one of the funniest things at a holiday party. It was a holiday networking party. So it's like I'm in
Uh-huh.
this networking group, and it was their holiday party. So it tends to be more people come because it's a great opportunity to just see everybody just talk, right? It's not
Yeah.
about anything other than just talking with one another. So it was really great to position myself literally in the middle of the room
Hmm.
and watch what came to me. And I saw all sorts of things. I saw people come to me with looks like, oh, she's alone. I don't want her to be alone. Like you could just read it on them. It's so funny. Or the people who are coming beeline to you because it's like you're open fodder. It's like, oh my God, she's not doing anything. I'm
Yep.
going to go sell myself to her. But the greatest was something that somebody said.
Uh-huh.
One of the guys that approached me and he's like, oh my God, finally. He said, I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to approach you, but you're always surrounded by all these people.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
I never, I don't want to interrupt. And I'm thinking,
Mm,
I mean, when he walked away, it was a great conversation and
yeah.
I, we're gonna have follow-up and stuff. But one of the things that got me thinking is how often when we go in just feeling like we have to attach to whatever's there, we spend so much time with the wrong people that the right people can't come and talk
Can't
to us,
come in.
or that
Woo.
we don't have that time with the people we're really supposed to be there talking to.
Yes.
And that was really an interesting kind of shift, and I said next time just come and make your way into the group. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I would have hated to think that it took you 5 months just or reach out or whatever. But I think that was a lesson. It was a really
Mm,
important one,
yeah.
is that when I can open myself up and see what comes to me, then I really do see this wide range.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have so much of an opportunity to practice those specialty skills that we have to read the room or to read people when we're not focusing so much of our energy on who do I need to like
Yeah.
so that I'm not standing here alone or I don't look like a fool or whatever we're
Yeah.
telling ourselves,
Yeah.
based on conditioning that we're spending so much time hunting that we're not even reading what we're hunting. Like, it's like, do
Wow.
I even want to be? Do I even want to be here in this conversation? Yeah, it's a warm body to be talking to, but do I even really want to be in this conversation right now?
Ooh, and the good nuggets, I tell you. So, oh my goodness, this is the last one for 2023.
It is. And I need to make an announcement because I'm not going to be able to make the next one on the 3rd of the month. I'm going to be,
Yay!
yeah, I'm
'Cause
going to be in Arizona with my mother, who, like I said, is still in the hospital. And so
yeah. Hey,
we're going to be
do.
there enjoying our time and being with her. We're not going to sure if she's going to be in the hospital or home by then. It's a day to day. We've been taking it day by day.
Yeah.
My brother's been with her this month. And so
Hey,
we'll see next month. I'm needing to be a little bit fluid.
that's the most important thing here. And trust and believe. You've been gracious to me here. I know you're not saying, well, you're not asking for my permission, but you've been gracious here to me in a whole lot of things where I've been settling, moving across the continent, across the pond, across the oceans, and you've been gracious. So, my dear, take as much time as you want. Uh, EPs will be here. We will do what we have to do. We'll replay one of our best. To all of those who are watching, we truly want to say thank you, Dre. Thank you for being here. You did say watching time. Mark Cuban said he usually spends 15 minutes with people in business to make sure he is not wasting time. There you go. But to all of you, Tracy, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you call it. Pray the family is you. Are you going to stay home or traveling?
So we'll be traveling. We'll be
Okay.
traveling to Maryland for Christmas and then
Okay.
to Arizona for New Year's.
Gotcha. We're going to Ohio for Christmas, and then I don't know where Verlin says, but whatever she says, she's got me now. But Tracy, thank you so much for being here, and to all the eavesdroppers, thank you.
Thank you.
This is when on TV the people just, what's happening? No, you come back. Something goes wrong in studio, and people's faces are just like, oh, what's happening there?
It's still running.